Hey guys, Fred here, welcoming you to my Battleground 2014 review. Now, people again were saying last night that this show didn't really live up to a lot of its expectations. Well, let's see how it gets under my microscopic view then, shall we? First, the results, because I got to start off with what actually happened on the show before I dig into it thoroughly. First, the Usos defeated the Wyatt family by 2-1 in a 2 out of 3 falls match to retain the WWE Tag Team Championships. And it was done by a double splash from both men, which actually got a negative response from the crowd. I wonder why that is. Seriously, I'll get to it a little later. AJ Lee defeated Paige to retain the Divas Championship by a Shining Wizard, which was nicely executed, by the way. Rusev defeated Jack Swagger by countout after countering a Patriot lock into the post and crawling back into the ring to ensure a very cheap victory. All's well and good on that front, right? Seth Rollins defeated Dean Ambrose by forfeit in a match that didn't actually happen, so I can't really rate that one, but what happened between this match, the brawling was superb. I definitely have to say that was one of the best things of the night, bar none. Chris Jericho defeating Bray Wyatt in a match that everyone's losing their shit over, with a code breaker to seal the victory. Then we had The Miz surprising everybody and pissing off the internet by defeating and eliminating Dolph Ziggler last to win the vacant Intercontinental Championship. Ziggler eliminated Sheamus. He thought he'd won, but Miz had been outside of the ring the entire damn match. Came in, threw Ziggler over the top rope, and won the match. And yeah, the internet did not take kindly to that one. Seriously. The Elimination Order being Xavier Woods, Zack Ryder, Great Khali, Sin Cara, R-Truth, Curtis Axel, Damien Sandow, Diego, Ryback, Todd O'Neill, Alberto Del Rio, Big E, Kofi Kingston, and what is a spectacular save he managed to make once again. Cesaro, Heath Slater, surprisingly, Bo Dallas, Sheamus, and finally Dolph Ziggler. No RVD though. What the hell was that? Nonetheless. Finally, John Cena defeating Roman Reigns, Randy Orton and Kane in a fatal 4-way to retain the World Heavyweight Championship of the WWE via an attitude adjustment. Now that's out of the way, let's get on with the in-depth analysis that I always do. I have 4 or 5 rating factors which now, on their own, encompass my entire viewpoint of a match. So, let's get into it first. The Usos versus the Wyatt family. Psychology, I gave it a 2. Now, obviously, I have to do it because the physicality these two gave into each other, they tore each other up with most of their moves. Cannot deny that. Of course, noting that at the end of the match, which had multiple near falls, gave off the endurance that I mentioned in the predictions, that both of these two teams would have to be fighting in a battle of attrition and who can get the best for it. And honestly, it worked out. Both these guys were not willing to give up, and it showed that this is a match that actually meant something, and it's actually meaning that the tag team titles mean something, which is overall a very good thing. However, there wasn't much body selling in there. They were too quick to obviously get up and do something without properly giving it some due care and attention. And, you know, it's really annoying when I just look at it that way and think, okay, they could have done a little bit more. But the physicality and the drive gave this match some meaning, and it made people go completely nuts. So, can't go wrong with that. Move variety was a 2. There were quite a few times here where I thought, there's some really cool moves in here. I mean, effectively, kicking out of the splash really made something go right, but there was a fucking superplex, once again by Eric Rowan, which he doesn't pull out very often, which again keeps my interest. A double splash as well, fantastic, but the best move of this entire match, 2 big moves done in this entire match, done, of course, by the Usos. First off, countering a suicide dive with a kick to the face, I've got to admit that's ingenuitive. Then, of course, you've got the walking the barricade and hitting a diving splash. Come on, that's beautiful. And overall, it never kept my interest enough in the second half of this match. So yeah, a 2 on move variety there, cannot go wrong. Crowd reaction was a 2.5. Now, for me, The crowd reaction was kind of muted to begin with, and I'll get to that with the length and pacing in a bit. The fact the crowd didn't really have much interest until the Usos got their pinfall. Then it started heating up. Then they ended up getting right behind them, going batshit insane for every single near fall that happened. They were chanting, and they were saying, "This is awesome, let's go Wyatt, let's go Usos," really getting into the match once the pace kicked up. But apart from that, it really didn't generate much buzz. I mean, for a match that went nearly 20 minutes, for 2/3 of it for not having any buzz whatsoever, kind of defeats the point of what this match was meant to do. The length and pacing is a 2. The reason why I give this a 2 is ridiculous. This is a 2 out of 3 falls match, and it's 20 minutes long, okay? You need it to go a lot faster. I know that this was obviously the best thing to do, putting these two teams who can go do fast, physical action. You want to put that first. The problem with me is that you had the first 2 falls, the first 15 minutes of this match, effectively turn it to crap. Because it was so slow, so methodical. This is not what an opening match at a pay-per-view should be. An opening match at a pay-per-view should be a lot more than this. If it isn't, then I'm wondering what the hell it should be. You know, sure, it picked up later. It picked up later and got really fast, which made everyone happy. But the falls were so quick. The pins were sloppy. It made it feel like they were just pushing ahead to go for this last fall. And it didn't really help. I was bored for the first half of the match, and that says a lot. For the first 15, maybe 12 minutes of this match, I didn't care what the hell was going on. It made the first 2 falls seem absolutely meaningless. That is a bad thing. Finally, my enjoyment. I gave this one quite simply a 1.5. I've already mentioned I didn't really enjoy this match for the most part. Sure, there was a lot of near falls, and of course, knowing that this was going to happen, the increase in pace brought me back in, and I like the idea that they were highlighting that the Usos couldn't be told apart by the referee, and they nearly tried to pull it again, which again ups the psychology factor a little bit more. For me, though, this match was not what I was expecting. Sure, the end part of the match was amazing, but that doesn't mean the rest of the match should be forgotten about, because a lot of people seem to forget that the first part of the match bored shitless. And unfortunately for me, I can't rate this higher than 2 stars. I mean, come on, this match was good, but I wouldn't say it was holy crap, that's amazing good, because that's 3.5, 4-star territory. Not the best thing in the world to start a pay-per-view on, I'm gonna say. Next, AJ Lee versus Paige. Psychology was a 1.5, and I'm only really giving it is because of Paige's physicality and her continuance in saying, "Come on, AJ!" Almost saying like she's not doing enough to challenge her. And I think that's cool. Thinking, oh wait, they're not doing enough? Well, it's Battleground, of course they're not going to be doing enough. They're going to wait till the next pay-per-view for that one. And overall, it gave off the impression that Paige is not only frustrated with herself, but her opponent. I like that. Giving off the impression that, hey, everything that's happening around her isn't pleasing her enough, which for a future should be quite interesting. But apart from that, there wasn't really much else that I could say, although Paige's facial reaction upon being put in the Black Widow, you've got to give that plaudits too. Basically, Paige was the star of this match, even with one small problem. And that's why the move variety gets a 1. Nothing different here, but that sunset flip powerbomb could have been amazing if it had actually hit on impact properly. It looked very, very sloppy. Very sloppy. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that one. Crowd reaction was a 1.5. The crowd were kind of into it to begin with, and were kind of surprised by the end of the victor, but the middle part of the match was just a big lull, and I'm not really pleased about that whatsoever. Crowd reaction, yeah, just gotta say, Divas matches, they're slightly improving, but it's not gonna go too far, is it? Match length and pacing, a 2. Now, this one is a bit more interesting, because this is the reason why I like these 2 Divas in particular. They make a match pick up and go somewhere. That, for me, is the best thing you can get. Not Gillette, damn it, I don't want to get that. Fact is, this is the important thing. This match was saved not only by that, it was also saved by its length. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this match went 7 minutes. Now, don't get me wrong, 7 minutes is nothing. But for a Divas match, that's important. For a Divas match, that is the best thing you can get from them. And I'm telling you now, that's all I need. All I needed was that. and unfortunately for some people it's not enough. But for 7 minutes for a very fast-paced physical matchup, I gotta give it some plaudits on that front, people. Just saying. Finally, my enjoyment was a 1.5. You know, I thought this match had potential, but if they're holding it off until SummerSlam, fine. If they're holding it off until SummerSlam, give it time to really build up into a huge match. Give this next couple of weeks some chance, and it should become even better come SummerSlam. Now, did I really enjoy this match? Not really. But it had enough potential in there to make me say it's not awful. I mean, a 1 star is perfect for this one, I will tell you that. There you go. Swagger v Rusev. Psychology, a 2. Now, this is obviously, again, due to the physicality, but the crowd kind of played into it with the USA chants and all that jazz, and overall, the fact that both of these two are very, very strong individuals, and it's not just a USA versus Russia feud, it is also a battle of strength. These two guys are strong-ass motherfuckers. They will want to pulverize each other, and they nearly did. Honest to God, this would have been made even better, and it was made better by Lana and Seb Coulter hyping on their guys to perform like managers in a bloody boxing match. This was brilliant. However, there was a lack of body selling. Speaking of which, I had to give plaudits to Rusev for selling that ankle in the build-up to the finish. But the problem I have to mark it down on is the fact that he sold the wrong ankle at the end of the match. You were hit on the right ankle, and you sold by limping the left ankle upon leaving the ring. That, to me, is a complete fuck-up on your end, and unfortunately, it didn't stop my eagle eye from noticing it. Overall, if that had been done fully properly, it would have upped it to a 2.5, and I would have been happy. Not to mention the fact that both of these two got equal offense early on. So I can't go wrong with that. Seriously, that's really good stuff. Move variety, 1. Seriously though, nothing really intrigued me on this one. I've got to tell you, I really didn't like what they were doing, even though I like seeing both these two in the ring. I didn't like what I saw in this match on moves for the most part. Yay. Crowd reaction was a 2. Now, it's obviously because the crowd were going, USA, USA, and just being really patriotic as they do. You know, when Swagger hulked up going for the ankle lock, Patriot lock, I was a bit worried because the crowd didn't really seem to pop. I mean, sure, when it went the "We, the people," they completely lost their shit and went crazy, which is what you'd expect, because it's a bloody infectious phrase. However, you know, the crowd were quite pop for this, but they didn't last throughout the entire match. So, meh. Match length and pacing, a 2. Now, I will say it again, this was a very fast and physical match. It went around 10 minutes in length, which isn't bad. I mean, overall, for a match like this, I thought it would have actually been a bit shorter than this. So overall, it gets a little bit upwards on my part. It was fast, it didn't have any slow moments, but I would have liked it, well, if they'd actually broadened the crowd for a bit, if they'd hit each other over the head with some flags, or just done something a little more to kind of elongate it a little. Because it always gave off the impression that Swagger was going to win. It felt like it when Swagger got multiple big amounts of offense, and Rusev's offense was actually quite muted in this. So it overall made the pace of this match look really slow whenever he did, and that's not a good sign at all when you're against a guy who I know is much more faster than he's shown to be in this match. My overall enjoyment was a 2. You know, this match, while not having too much in there, kept me on the edge of my seat and enabled me to say, hey, it proves that I enjoy this feud. Not to mention that I have to mention this, even though it's nothing to do with the match. Lana highlighting current events in her promo. Yeah, that got me completely surprised. I was marking out for that because I was thinking, wow, I didn't think they'd actually go there. And the media now are being really butthurt about it. Oh, come on. So for me, this match, while good, it didn't really get into the upper echelons of what I would consider good. I mean, technically, it's not even on the upper echelons of what I would consider okay. It's a 1 3/4 star. With more into it, more happening, I would probably have given it more. Which is all well and good, just saying. Of course, I don't even need to rate Rollins versus Ambrose, because again, it didn't actually happen. But I've already said, the brawls, if I was rating backstage segments, I would definitely give this a good mark, but I don't. But I will say, in the final rating of this pay-per-view, it definitely helps make this show stand out a bit more. So, yeah. Can't go wrong with that one, can I? Yeah, oh good. Wyatt versus Jericho. Psychology was a 2.5, simply because The Wyatt family didn't do anything, obviously. And I've got to say, that's all well and good. The physicality, again, plays in. And the fact that Jericho was not taking any of Wyatt's crap. And that's one thing that I was highlighted by someone prior to the show. I was saying, hey, well, I think it was the highlight heel on Twitter, highlighting that, hey, imagine if the match starts off with a slap to the face by Jericho like they did in NXT. That didn't happen, but obviously the tension that usually exists when Wyatt feels like an aura, an ominous presence, didn't bloody happen here, which inevitably made it flow better and made Jericho's physicality in taking Bray Wyatt down actually feel much more realistic. And sure, Wyatt had that freaking massive shiner, so hitting that anything in the face would have made it very useful. I mean, I would have liked to have seen some body selling, and the physicality and the progression of this matchup really gave it some footing. However, it needed something more, and that's probably the story of this entire match. Move variety was a 1.5, and I've got to say, it's mostly due to that reverse cutter from the top rope by Wyatt. That was amazing. However, it's ruined a little bit by a botched gutbuster by Wyatt. Now, the shifting of the weight wasn't very good. It failed really badly, and it didn't show very well. But overall, that cutter is enough to give it a 1.5 for me. For me. You will maybe different on it, but not me. Crowd reaction, 1.5. This is a bit of a challenging one. The crowd were kind of into it, but they didn't really show that much interest throughout the entire match. And for these two, who are considerably over personalities, I would have expected more. I mean, they were into Jericho and Wyatt had a few followers, but I didn't really see much that made me go, crowd like this damn thing. So that's a problem on my end, but honestly, it needed more from the crowd. I thought they'd be more into this, but I think, like I'm saying, if it had more in it, it could have been something much, much better. Next, length and pacing, 2. It went 15 minutes and it hardly slowed down much. Can't go wrong with that. It was, okay, sure, it did lull during the middle stage when Wyatt got his offense in, and when he did speed up, it made it a great, refreshing change. But honestly, the match didn't really live up to what I expected to in length, stuff happening, or just in general the pace. Like, it didn't feel like what I was expecting. Jericho wasn't as fast as I thought, but it was mostly Wyatt pushing forward on it. Never mind. My enjoyment was a 1.5. I mentioned all the way through on this, that this effectively was a match that they were holding back on, that they weren't going to do everything they could do because they wanted to save it for SummerSlam, which made me think, why the hell are you even doing the match in the first place? That's not a good sign. Anyway, I'm going to be really kind with this one. I found it to be good, but not by much. I'm going to give this a 1 3/4 star. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, and was not what I was expecting from these two. I was let down quite a bit. But SummerSlam is coming, people, and we should see something a hell of a lot better. Fine, next up, the IC title Battle Royale. Yes, and this match, well, the psychology gets a 1.5. I mean, I don't really know where I can put this in there. But overall, it's... what happened with Kofi? Him trying to keep from escaping again? Hooray! Can't go really wrong with that, can we? All getting the Khali out of the match early on, definitely an important thing as far as this match is concerned. Not to mention, well, I've got to say this, Miz's infiltration to win is a great piece of psychology. Why? Because effectively, it means we get to see a rematch. And seeing Ziggler go off the IC title, people say, is a burial! Oh, fuck off. This is not bad. Seriously, Miz winning will inevitably lead him to go back to Hollywood, proclaim how big of a star he is, and have acted IC champion, only for having someone to beat him up. I mean, sure, it could be Sheamus, it could be Ziggler, it could be anyone. But honestly, that enabled this to happen. And honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here. However, overall, it didn't really work out too well. Move variety, 2. 2 pieces of move variety here that were superb. Actually, technically 3 if you count it. First, a top rope guillotine by Ziggler. Lovely. Kofi saving himself, though, was the highlight of this match. Saving himself by landing on Big E's shoulders. Cesaro then suplexes him back in the ring and then suplexes him straight out. That's amazing. That shows the power, ladies and gentlemen, of a Cesaro. And I freaking love Cesaro. Overall, also, actually, on the psychology front, I didn't want to mention this, but a memorable moment, Slater eliminating Cesaro, good God, can't go wrong with that. Crowd reaction was a 1.5. They didn't really have that much interest. They seemed hot to begin with, getting all the jobbers out, but then when it got towards its end, okay, sure, the elimination of Cesaro didn't get a good reaction, and honestly, Kofi saving himself, crowd popped like fucking crazy because it's Kofi fucking Kingston. Can't go wrong with that. Miz's winning dumbed the crowd a bit, and the shocked reactions on their faces, funny as hell. Not really much else though to say. Match like the pacing too. 15 minutes long, 14 minutes long roundabout. Had a very quick pace that only slowed down towards the final 6, and that on a Battle Royal is a good sign, leading to a slow physical crawl to eliminate people, and it worked its job. I would have liked to have seen a little more staying power for some of these guys. I'd like to see some people stay longer than they did, but obviously I'm not magic, I'm not going to be able to do it, am I? My enjoyment was a 2. You know, this had some good moments, but what annoyed me mostly is that, like I said, I just thought, where's RVD for a start, who could have really added some flair to the match and made it more exciting? Also, wasn't Wade Barrett supposed to be out there for the entire thing, handing it over, which is why I suspected that Bo Dallas would inevitably win the match, get whacked in the face? I mean, overall, the match was good and exciting, but nothing more than that. It felt like a throwaway battle royal, and it definitely came across as such, but it still entertained me enough. And overall, guys, even with RVD lacking, it had some memorable moments, some good eliminations, and overall, a 2-star from me. Could be overhyping this, but who cares? I like a battle royal, so can't go wrong with that. Finally, the main event. Now, psychology, a 3. Multiple near falls are all good in this one. And as OKFabe said, hope to God they ended up having near fall tweeting when this happened, otherwise it would have made a riot. You see, that's all well and good. It gave the impression that these guys were not going to get beaten. They have strength, endurance in them, and they're not going to give up. They're not going to give up doing this at all. Not to mention, the Yes and Daniel Bryan chants came in the moment Orton and Kane imploded. I like how they were working together for the early part of the match, at the slow portion, working Cena and Reigns down, and when they tried to say, hey, I'm going to go for the pinfall here, they inevitably just go, what the hell, and just beat the crap out of each other. That was brilliant. It slowly built its way up. You kind of knew it was going to happen, but you didn't know when. And overall, it paid its due, because it worked out superbly well in making the match's dynamic look ever so much more better than what it was. And overall, the idea that Roman Reigns could inevitably beat John Cena and effectively hit him with that fucking amazing Superman punch, following the bloody 5-knuckle shuffle pose, was great. I mean, overall, I have to tell you now, the physicality of this matchup was evident from the get-go. You knew it was going to be physical, and it worked. It told the story that all 4 of these guys wanted this title amazingly. I'm sort of annoyed that Triple H didn't come in to take Reigns out of it when he was trying to do something amazing, which is what I expected. But then again, after what he did with Dean Ambrose, he's going to be very tired for the rest of the night, so I can fully understand why it was not done in the first place. Next, move variety, 2.5. There's a lot in here I need to get through. A double powerbomb superplex. Do I need to say more? Not just that, a double hangman DDT, a facebuster into a half crab, Reigns hitting every single competitor in sight with his running kick. I mean, and I would even say again, I've already mentioned it, the 5-knuckle shuffle pose with a punch to the face. Yay! Move variety was a good showing here. In fact, I might give it a 3. And the psychology, I might move down to a 3 on its own right. Merits on that one. Also good. Crowd reaction was a 3.5. Sure, in the beginning they were a little bit muted because they kind of knew it was going to be Cena winning. But the thing is, it didn't play out like that. And I'm so happy that it didn't. Cena was basically being mentioned, hey, you're being beaten up by Roman Reigns, you're being beaten up by Orton, you're being beaten up by Kane, and it made you look quite weak because of it, and you inevitably won in the end, which is understandable, and the crowd didn't really like that too much, but they liked most of the action. For 3/4 of this match, they were on their feet, chanting, cheering, hyping themselves up behind these big spots, these big near falls. And that's all I can say. It was a good way of saying, hey, this main event came in as being a really predictable thing, but the crowd really got into it. They loved most of it. And I can't go wrong with that at all. Not at all. And, yeah. Match length and pacing, 3.5. This was a very good thing. I mean, sure, it was 18 minutes, which was a lot shorter than I thought, but the pacing was what made this match great. It was fast as hell going into the last 5-10 minutes. Before that, it was medium pacing, which of course started off the match with a bit of trepidation, enabling Kane and Orton to get the upper hand for a while, before Reigns just comes in and tries to decimate them, along with Cena doing the same, picking the pace up a lot, and overall, the momentum shifts between all four of these guys were surprisingly effective. They were getting equal offense for the most part until certain points where Roman Reigns just went up and dominated people, which really created the impression that in any multi-man match, if this guy's in there, you do not want to fuck with him. And overall, the match went the length of time that I didn't expect it to, but overall, it felt like it never got boring. The match excited me from that point, and it made me feel very happy that, wow, this is a main event that isn't slow, plodding, and methodical. Good to see. My enjoyment was a 3. Simply because overall, I was really kind of bored going in, like I always am in the main event, but this got me on my feet. It made me excited to see the near falls. It made me excited to see all these big spots. It made the match feel great. You know, a 3 for me is not bad. I mean, I could have given it a 3.5 if the finish was a bit better, but I could easily say that for most matches on this card. For me, this match was the best match of the night, and honestly, it created some real drama, which for a main event, which was apparently as throwaway as this was definitely worth it. You know, the match wasn't dampened by Cena winning, because it felt for a lot of times he wouldn't actually win. And I've got to give my plaudits to WWE on that. I thought a lot of times that Orton, Kane would have won this. Hell, screw it, Reigns would have won it so many times if it weren't for Kane. The fact is, and actually I will quote, Kane did no sell being hit by a Superman punch to immediately break the fall up, which was really bad positioning on the cameraman's part. Again, taking the psychology down to a 2.5. So overall, it's a 2.5, a 2.5, a 3.5, a 3.5, and a 3. Okay, you know what? 3 stars. This is getting a good rating from me. 3 stars, best match of the night. If Ambrose vs. Rollins was in there, it would have gotten probably the best match of the night without a shadow of a doubt. But 3 stars. That's not bad at all, is it, folks? And it's a good way to end this show because, ladies and gentlemen, here are my final thoughts. This pay-per-view came in feeling very ordinary, despite the card having a lot of potential. Now, honestly, for me, I found this pay-per-view to be exactly where I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be mediocre with some great points in that I could really take home from it. Good news is I got that. I felt really pleased with it, but overall it was lacking. You know, I felt overall this entire night just felt like they were going on half-full tanks. They weren't going at full speed, and they weren't doing everything they could to make the matches feel fantastic. Sure, the opening and the main event gave us something to be excited about, but I really expected more from a lot of these matches. Sure, the main event surprised me, but overall, it doesn't really play up too much. I mean, overall, guys, when you have a 1 3/4 star, a 1 star, a 1 3/4 star, a 2 star, a 1 3/4 star, and a 3 star out of it, I mean, well, no, it was a 2 star for the IC Battle Royal. The fact is, it was not bad, but overall, it wasn't very good either. You know, and Money in the Bank got its rating with really meh matches, with a very good match to top it all off. For this pay-per-view, however, you know, this didn't have a holy crap amazing match in it, but it did have something that it can still warrant a good merit on. But for me, it gets a 4 out of 10, to quote Brett. 4 out of 10 is, for me, the optimal choice. You know, I wouldn't go too far in saying that it's going to get more, but to me, if it had much more good things about it, I would have been able to give it better. You know, most of these matches underwhelmed me, and I'm hoping to God for SummerSlam I get these matches that truly blow me out of the water, because SummerSlam usually is pay-per-view of the year material every single year, so let's hope to God I get that, because that's important, that's what I need, and that's all I can care for in this scenario. And guys, there's my predictions done. Predictions? What the hell are my predictions? It was 2 days ago. I'm bloody going backwards. There, we have my review done. 4 out of 10 for Battleground. What are your opinions on the results? Put them down in the comment section below. It'd be great to hear everything. Plus, if you want to hear anything that's happening in regards to CCVGP, my countdown, which is currently now in the production stage, and anything in between, go to my Twitter account over here somewhere to be able to keep up on everything. That's CC Network YT. It's great to see that some of you are going to keep on. Plus, I'm near 100 followers, so please make that come to reality. If you like what you're seeing from me, you want to see more content, which includes video game playthrough, with of course being Toy Commander, which is going really well so far, then go click the subscribe button down there. I appreciate the support, guys, and the CC Network is starting to make some pace. All is going well. Guys, I have been Freddie Thomas. You have been people watching. This has been my Battleground 2014 review. And this has been a CCWR production for the CC Network. I will see you guys next time, which will probably be Thursday for the next part of Toy Commander playthrough. And on Sunday for my Wrestling News Roundup. This is all going to be very, very good. Also, I'll be on Twitter all night for Raw, so good things are going to happen there. Hope you guys have a good week. I'll see you next time. Cheers!